Hey friends, and welcome to this new video all about Poppy Playtime Chapter 5. Today we'll talk about new theories and the latest information about the new chapter. And I'll also show you a new official message from the developers, which contains really curious details and helps us understand what to expect. But that's not all. I found a community theory that's been going around lately, and I'll tell you right away. I'll explain why it's not valid and which parts of the game actually disprove it. I'll give you my personal analysis so you can better understand how to interpret the new information and which details really matter. In this video, we'll focus on all the latest details, from official images to hidden messages, and we'll try to figure out together which clues might lead us to discover new secrets of Chapter 5. There's a lot to analyze, so get ready to dive deep into all the news. And of course, if you're excited to discover all these updates with me, smash that like button on this video and subscribe to the channel so you won't miss any future Poppy Playtime news. I promise there will be more theories, analysis, and interesting curiosities in upcoming videos. So stay tuned. So, without wasting any more time, let's jump right in and see what Chapter 5 of Poppy Playtime has in store for us. So, let's start right away with the theory that some people in the community have been talking about recently. Recently, the official book Poppy Playtime Stickerpedia was announced. A very interesting book that contains over 150 stickers dedicated to the world of Poppy Playtime. Fans were extremely excited, and, as you know, we already analyzed the book cover yesterday, which hides some really curious details. And right on the book cover, if you pay attention, this image that you are seeing on screen right now appears. Some people immediately started speculating about what they were seeing, and the most popular theory that emerged was this: what we see on the cover would be train tracks, and therefore in Chapter 5 we would see train rails inside the game. At first, it seemed like an interesting theory, and I understand why some people believed it. The shape of these lines really does resemble rails. But if we look more closely at the image, we realize that they are not train tracks at all. What looks like rails is actually simple conveyor rollers, the kind of rollers that are used to move packages from one place to another. If we observe carefully, above these rollers there is no train, but instead there are clearly packages being transported along the line. There will be no rails in that part of the image, at least based on what we can see from the official cover. Anyway, the train presence could be confirmed from another image. In fact, we already saw a train in one of the recent images posted by Mob Entertainment. Let's see it. Now let's move on to the direct references to the train. If we go back in time and take another look at the Christmas artwork released by the developers, we can notice a very interesting detail that many people initially overlooked. Inside that artwork, in fact, there is a painting hanging on the wall, and this painting clearly shows train wagons. These are not just any wagons, but the classic Playtime Code train wagons, a design we know very well. This detail is extremely important, because here we are not talking about forced interpretations, but about a direct and recognizable visual reference. The presence of this painting could therefore suggest that in Chapter 5 we might see a train once again, or at least that the concept of the train will return with an important role. After all, we know very well that many areas of Playtime are connected via internal train lines. This is not something new, but something that is deeply rooted in the structure of the factory itself. This idea is further reinforced if we also think about Project Playtime, where players use the train to reach different gameplay areas. This clearly shows that the train is not just a decorative or narrative element, but a real means of transportation within the Poppy Playtime universe. For this reason, it is not excluded at all that the train will once again play an important role in Chapter 5. It could be used to reach new areas of the factory, possibly zones we have never seen before, or it could appear during the finale of the chapter, just like what happened in Chapter 2. In short, in this case, the connection to the train has solid foundations and does not come from a misinterpretation of an image. Now let's talk about the new official message written by Mob Entertainment, because this one is really interesting, and in my opinion, deserves special attention. The message was written directly by Spencer, so we're not talking about just anyone, but about a member of the development team. For this very reason, every word he says can hide important information about the new chapter. A user simply asked Spencer who his favorite character is. Spencer's answer was simple, but at the same time extremely meaningful. He replied, "Prototype." At first glance, this might seem like a normal answer, almost trivial, as if he was just casually naming his favorite character. We have to consider a very important detail here. At the moment, we still haven't seen what the prototype actually looks like. So far, we've only seen parts of his body, specifically his arms and his legs, but not his full form. This makes Spencer's answer much more interesting, because in order to say that the prototype is his favorite character, he must have seen it in its entirety. As we know, Spencer has already played Chapter 5 Inches Advance, and that's completely normal since he is part of the Mob Entertainment team. This means that he knows exactly what we're going to see in the new chapter. As a result, this answer could indirectly confirm that in Chapter 5, the prototype will finally be fully revealed. Yes, it's true, we already have confirmation that the prototype will appear in Chapter 5, but until now it wasn't clear how. We didn't know if we would only see parts of it again, maybe briefly like in previous chapters, or if we would finally get a full reveal of the character. With this message, however, the chances of the prototype making a complete appearance increase significantly. Of course, we can't call this a 100% confirmation yet, but this message represents a very strong hint, especially because it comes directly from a developer. And this is exactly the kind of detail we need to keep an eye on, because very often the most important information comes indirectly. Now let's talk about the updates to the Steam page, because there are some interesting details to analyze here as well. In particular, we are on the SteamDB website, which we know very well. This site is extremely useful because it shows Steam page updates in real time, even the smallest ones that would normally go unnoticed. And thanks to SteamDB, we can see that a few days ago, the Poppy Playtime page was updated once again. However, it's important to clarify one thing right away. In this case, it's not a major update or an important announcement. The update only involves changes to the user tags, which are the labels used to better categorize the game on Steam and make it easier for users to find it. So these are simple page optimization updates. That said, we shouldn't underestimate this kind of activity. The interesting part is that lately, the Steam page has been updated quite frequently, and we know very well that the closer we get to a game's release, the more frequent these updates become. This is something we've already seen happen with previous Poppy Playtime chapters. Then, we have to consider that several important elements are still missing from the Steam page. For example, the new official screenshots for Chapter 5 haven't been released yet. It's also very likely that the header image of the page will be changed, which is usually one of the first real signs that the release is getting closer. There's also another very interesting detail to remember. The first screenshots that appear on Poppy Playtime Steam pages are almost always placeholder screenshots. In the past, these have always been replaced later with images from the final version of the game, which are much more polished and representative. As a result, we could be facing a similar situation once again. So even if for now these are just small technical adjustments, we need to keep our eyes open, because these movements on the Steam page are often the prelude to much more interesting news. Thank you very much for watching this video. You are amazing, and thank you very much for the support. See you soon in the next video. Bye bye.